Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video is the start of a brand new series which I already told you in one of my videos called the New Year and News High, where I told you guys that I was going to make historical videos about alternate universes or maybe some history, talk about like countries and stuff like that. That's the start of this series. This is the first episode of this series. Today we're going to talk about the Cod Wars. No, I don't literally mean COD. I mean the Cod Wars between the United Kingdom and Iceland. So, for today's video, I am going to be giving a little background of what happened in the Cod Wars, what the Cod Wars were, and then I'm going to talk about an alternative universe of what would happen if the Cod Wars did not end at the Third Cod War and actually just continued on and on, for a lot more years. So let's get started. Now, first, I'm going to get you guys some background of what happened in the Cod Wars. So let's get started. The Cod Wars were a series of 20th century confrontations between the United Kingdom and Iceland about fishing rights in the North Atlantic. Each of the disputes ended with an Icelandic victory. Some Icelandic historians view the history of Iceland's struggle for control of its maritime resources in 10 episodes, or 10 Cod Wars. The agreement that was reached in 1976 concluded that in modern times is called the Third Cod War, the final and 10th Cod War in the long-term history. Fishing boats from Britain were sailing to waters near Iceland in search of their catch since the 14th century. Agreements struck during the 15th century started a centuries-long series of intermittent I can't even pronounce that word right. Intermittent disputes between the two countries. Demand for seafood and consequent competition for fish stocks grew rapidly in the 19th century. In 1951, citing as precedent a decision by the International Court of Justice, Iceland expanded its territorial waters to 4 nautical miles or 7 kilometers. In 1958, after a United Nations conference at which several countries sought to extend the limits of their territorial waters to 12 nautical miles or 22 kilometers, at which no agreement was reached. Iceland unilaterally expanded its territorial waters to this limit and banned foreign fleets from fishing in these waters. Britain refused to accept this decision. This led to a modern series of confrontations with the United Kingdom and other Western European countries that took place in 3 stages over 20 years, 1958 to 1961, 1972 to 1973, 1975 to 1976. A threat of damage and danger to life was present, with British fishing boats escorted to the fishing grounds by the Royal Navy, while the Icelandic Coast Guard attempted to chase them away and use long hawsers to cut nets from the British boats. Ships from both sides suffered damage from ramming attacks. Each confrontation concluded with an agreement favorable for Iceland. Iceland made threats that it would withdraw from NATO, which would have forfeited NATO's access to most of the Gap. I'm sorry I didn't pronounce that right. A critical anti-submarine warfare choke point during the Cold War. In a NATO-broke agreement in 1976, the United Kingdom accepted Iceland's establishment of a 12 nautical mile or 22 kilometer exclusive zone around its shores where only its own ships could fish, and a 200 nautical mile or 370 kilometer Icelandic fishery zone where other nations or fishing fleets needed Iceland's permission. The agreement brought to an end more than 500 years of unrestricted British fishing in these waters. As a result, British fishing communities lost access to rich areas and were devastated. With thousands of jobs lost, the UK abandoned its open seas. international fisheries policies, and other fishery groups declared a similar 200 nautical mile zone around its own waters. Since 1982, a 200 nautical mile or 370 kilometer exclusive economic zone has been international standard under the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. Thanks for Wikipedia for helping me out on this and actually, helping me to research all this stuff. Now, let's get on to the alternative kind of universe, because in this real universe, after this, the Cod Wars ended and the stress between the two countries kind of faded away, and the two countries just became neutral and didn't really become like enemies anymore. We didn't really get in any Cod Wars. Now, as far as I'm concerned, these Cod Wars wouldn't go very far. Like, the least that maybe Iceland could do is maybe like, I don't know, like break a lot of boats or maybe do a lot of damage to the British. But except for that, I don't really see both of these countries getting into any naval combat between each other. But because I want this to get interesting, I want to take both routes. So let's get started with the first one, the peaceful alternative universe. So in this alternative universe, there is a fourth Cod War. So the war begins with Britain being really angry and they just don't like the agreements that Iceland's getting, and they're just worried that they might lose their domination over that area. So a giant naval battle begins between Iceland and the United Kingdom. In some places, Iceland does win, but most places Iceland loses. NATO threatens the UK that they will kick the UK from NATO, and even though they know that will be very bad for them, they still want this war over somehow. So at the end, the British continued the war for a couple more years until at the end they agree that they should stop the war, and Iceland and the UK agree on an agreement which in some places Iceland gets some and in some places the United Kingdom gets some. Now, without getting into too much detail, I'm not gonna say how this peace treaty would go. Now let's go for the second route. This route that we're going is the kind of rough or / aggressive alternative universe. In this universe, there is a fourth Cod War, but in this war, stuff get really heated up. So maybe in the fourth war and maybe in the fourth Cod War, it would become similar stuff. Both sides would gain some and lose some. And it would probably be a similar thing. But after them would come a fifth Cod War. The fifth Cod War would come. Now, after the fourth Cod War, Iceland would have protected its seas very much and would start to upgrade its navy as much as it could, because it knew protecting its seas from that pesky United Kingdom would be a very good thing. And actually getting some would also be a very good thing. But losing their access to the sea would be a very bad thing for them. And that's why they started upgrading their navy as much as they could, protecting their seas extremely well and extremely fearsome. And then came the fifth Cod War, because the United Kingdom, like Iceland, used their boats, their navy, to secure their sea. But when the United Kingdom saw how much they're defending it, they really thought that Iceland was gonna start to do a giant naval attack on the UK. Turns out Iceland didn't want that kind of thing, but the United Kingdom thought that Iceland was gonna do that. At the end, the countries were really aggressive at each other. Even boats started to bump into each other from aggressiveness. And at the end came the fifth Cod War. Now, since Since Iceland was already ready for this war, and it had all its ships, its navy, and really aggressively and well defended its seas, it started pushing really hard into the UK's seas, and probably no boat would be able to stop that gigantic defense that they would have right there. The defense would start to move and take out a very much more seas and much more naval ground in there. They would continue gaining a lot of territories and a lot of territories in the seas, and they would start gaining a lot of wins just because of how ready they were for this war. At the end, their main front would be focused with, I might be over exaggerating, but their main front could probably have around 500 to 600, maybe even 650 ships at most, and at least maybe like 500 ships at least. Their main target was the UK, and they would want to land in the Scottish grounds. So I thought that maybe if they could land on the Scottish grounds, maybe, just maybe, they could try and get the Scottish to rebel, and maybe get it easier. At the end, Iceland would probably start to lose some, but at the end, the UK and Iceland would be weakened and would make a peace treaty. With this peace treaty, Iceland gets a lot more territory in the sea and expands its territory in the sea way more. I'm not gonna estimate how much, but I'm saying like way more. With this, the UK have just lost hope, but a sixth Cod War comes. This is the one and only war to end them all. And this time, Iceland had an entire plan ready. Their plan would be to make a naval landing in ports in Scotland, and then make the people to rebel. The landings would be very hard and would take a lot of years, but finally when the free landings would be done in the biggest ports of Scotland, they would start to push in from all sides, and finally the Scottish would see a chance to finally rebel. The rebellion would start hard, with a big chunk of their land taken away. The rebellion worked together with Iceland, and together they would push downwards into the UK really deep. Like, they would push really deep into the UK. While on the other side, Ireland would probably see a great opportunity to attack Northern Ireland and to take it back. At the end, Ireland would take back Northern Ireland. It would occupy it, and at the end, the United Kingdom would be pushed way into its territory, because they were not expecting Iceland to do such a big naval invasion. And I think you're getting what I'm trying to say right here. So the UK didn't expect for Iceland to get all the way to their coast and then do an invasion. They were not ready for that, and they did not expect that at all. So they would push down, and finally, because the UK would be scared of losing London, and because of other rebellions happening and losing their colonies, they would have to give up. There was no choice. In this last agreement, Northern Ireland is fully annexed and given to Ireland. Scotland, or at least Scotland, is released, but only half of the territory of Scotland is given. Wales is set up as kind of like a stationary port for for Iceland, and then all of the little islands, like the Falkland Islands, the Isle of Man, and just all the other islands are given. Every single other island from the UK that's around the UK close is given to Iceland, and all the waters from the UK are taken away, and only with Iceland's permission can UK now use the waters around them, and they expand their water territory, their nautical territory, by around, 100 nautical miles maybe, but I think I might be over-exaggerating with this peace treaty right here. That would be the end of the Cod Wars, and that would be the last Cod War. The Cod War to end all the Cod Wars. Now, this could have went any way. Like the UK could have been ready and pushed back the Icelandic army and navy. They could have pushed them back all the way to their country, and maybe Iceland would have surrendered. Or maybe Scotland and Ireland still would have attacked them and supported the Icelandic, but the Icelandic would still get pushed back a lot, and would probably even lose territory on land as well. There was a lot of ways this war could have went, but this is just my opinion. This is just what I think could happen, and you guys don't have to think like that. This is just my opinion, and just what I think would happen in this alternate universe. Now, out of these two alternate universes, who would I pick? Well, I would pick none, because both are pretty unlikely, and both are also pretty unrealistic, and I don't think they would ever happen. And like maybe the parts with the wars and stuff in the Navy, maybe that can happen. But the part where maybe the UK surrenders or Ireland attacks them, maybe I've over-exaggerated through that. And I don't pick any of these two alternate universes, because we already know the real alternate universe. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed today's video, guys. This is the first episode of this new history series kind of thing, where we explore different history of countries, do alternate histories and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, sorry for this video being kind of trash and also rushed, and also sorry for my voice being so bad and just stopping at some points, or being really nervous, or just not saying words that well. But because this is my first episode and I wanted to be ready, but I kind of got too excited and too ready, and when I don't know, it went kind of crazy. But yeah, I will definitely try to make better videos, more and also better videos like this in the future. But hopefully you enjoyed today's video, guys. Make sure to leave a like, maybe subscribe if you want to, with notifications on, so you don't miss another video. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya.